Hi everyone, this is Sarfraz from Aristotle Prep and we are looking at question number 67 from the OG 13 Critical Reasoning chapter. So the stimulus says, several industries have recently switched, at least partly, from older technologies powered by fossil fuels to new technologies powered by electricity. Okay, so industries have switched from fuel to electricity. It is thus evident that less fossil fuel is being used as a result of the operations of these industries than would have been used if these industries had retained their older technologies. So the industries have shifted from fossil fuel to electricity. So the argument concludes that now the operations of these industries is consuming less fossil fuel than had they not shifted to electricity. And we have to strengthen the argument. So let's go through the options. A says, many of the industries that have switched at least partly to the new technologies have increased their output. Irrelevant. We only have to bother about whether they are using less fossil fuel or not. What happens to the output is not our concern. B says, less fossil fuel was used to manufacture the machinery employed in the new technologies than was originally used to manufacture the machinery employed in the older technologies. So, well, it talks about fossil fuel, so we'll hold on to it. Let's go to C. C says, more electricity is used by those industries that have switched at least partly to the new technologies than by those industries that have not switched. That's very logical because they are now not using fossil fuel, they are using electricity. So obviously they are using more electricity. As long as they are saving fossil fuel, we are fine. So C doesn't help us at all. D says, some of the industries that have switched at least partly to the new technologies still use primarily technologies that are powered by fossil fuel. So that doesn't strengthen the argument by any stretch, right? They actually could weaken the argument by saying that they're still using a lot of fossil fuel. So to strengthen the argument, we have to show that yes, the operations of these industries is now using less fossil fuel. So E says the amount of fossil fuel used to generate the electricity needed to power the new technologies. So now we know that electricity is actually being generated by fossil fuel. So indirectly, these industries are still using fossil fuel. So option E says the amount of fossil fuel used to generate the electricity needed to power the new technologies is less than the amount that would have been used to power the older technologies. So then definitely there is some saving of fossil fuel that is happening. So E also looks like a good answer. So between B and E now, which one do we go with? Most students are able to come down to this point. Then they get confused and a lot of them actually end up going with B for Boston. And the reason B for Boston is wrong, one is the common sense reason, which is, you see, even if you ended up using more fossil fuel to manufacture the machinery, that's a one-time investment of fossil fuel. But in the day-to-day running of these machines, if you are saving on fossil fuel, then in the long run, you may actually be a gainer. It is something like if you compare diesel cars with petrol cars. While it costs more to purchase a diesel car, but the running cost of a diesel car is much less than that of a petrol car. It's something on those lines. So just because even if you ended up using more fuel to manufacture the machinery, that could still be beneficial in the long run in saving fossil fuel. That is the common sense reason. An even better reason is the argument clearly says less fossil fuel is being used as a result of the operations of these industries. B doesn't talk about the operations. B is before the operations, when you manufacture the machinery. E talks about the operations because you need electricity to power the technology during the day-to-day operation. And E says that the fossil fuel you're using is less, indirect, that you're indirectly using. So between B and E, E is definitely your answer. On a scale of 1 to 5, I would give this one a difficulty rating of 3 or 3.5. Have a nice day.